So I think without much ado, I would love to welcome our today's guest. Hello, Cherish. Good evening. It's great to have you for our Vigyan learners.
Good evening. Good evening to you too. I'm really, I'm assuming my audible right through?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I believe a lot in how much of dopamine a person needs to secrete, right? And when I logged in and I saw the participants add one by one, and right now it's 28, and I feel so nice that people are really looking at other ways of looking at the world. We are too used to looking at the world in one particular way, and I hope the next half an hour, 45 minutes, or let's take even an hour possibly, will give you a choice of looking at it differently. So let me share my screen. Yeah, perfect. I love opening a presentation or a talk with something which is very powerful as a visual. What are we doing here? Uh, I feel to a large extent we are embracing the abstract and letting go of the concrete. And this is how funny and stupid we look when we do that. What is embracing the abstract? We spend too much of time, we spend too much of resource, we spend too much of money and efforts in talking about things which really don't matter. Jingoism, isne wo kya kiya, what did he do, what did I do today, etc., etc., etc. We spend a lot of time embracing the abstract, but we're letting go of the concrete. Right? We don't talk about the important stuff. We don't work on the important stuff. And that is the main reason the country and the world is there in its form as we see it. I don't like the way the country is around me right now. I don't like the way the world is around me right now. And this starts off from the fact of you changing how you're wired to things. Right? She was talking about how important education is. Thanks, Seema. She was talking about how important education is. But first, let us define education, or rather, have a difference between education and skill. A person can be skilled. A doctor, an engineer, a scientist can be skilled at what he does. But education is a little beyond that. Education is having more knowledge about more number of things. You're a polyglot. You have more number of languages you have learned, more number of specialized branches which you have indulged in. You see the world from a different perspective. That is education. And the purpose of Vigyan, or anybody who is looking at empowering kids of the present age, should be education, not skill. So to take this further, let's talk about the one thing which is killing us now. I like the fact that a lot of people have written back on chat that the biggest problems we're facing is plastic pollution, deforestation, global warming, war. Yes, but unfortunately, it is not being spoken about in circles which matter, right? And even if it does, it is being brushed off with this one word called tokenism. So let's define what tokenism is. I hold a banner saying, go green. I participate in a run saying, I want to help Bangalore. I participate in the inauguration day of a lake opening saying that I will take care of it. You feel such sense of satisfaction inside you saying that, yes, you are a part of something which is change making, and you shrugged off your responsibility almost completely. Now that is tokenism. You shrugging off responsibility and assuming that you have done something, and actually nothing has happened, and in fact it is detrimental. Whatever you have done just for tokenism is making the worst part out of it, because it's giving rise to something called greenwashing. We are ignorant, right? One of the first chats when Seema asked, saying, what are the bigger problems in life is, I wrote, it is ignorance. When we are aware of things around us in a different way, the world completely changes. So what is greenwashing? Tokenism leads to greenwashing. When any product is sold in the market on a tag that it is sustainable and it is not otherwise, is greenwashing. An example could be brown colored tissues, brown colored tissue papers. Now, how is it brown? Is it naturally brown or is it dyed brown from it being white? Now, look at it. It sounds so simple, right? How does it make a difference if it is dyed brown? I mean, we have all seen brown tissue papers. If you've gone to Starbucks, we have seen brown tissue papers. How does it make a difference if it is dyed brown or if it is naturally brown? The performance is almost similar. It makes a huge, huge amount of difference. For every liter, for every ton of paper, every ton of paper that you want it to be in white color or any other color, you spend close to 50,000 liters of water to make it white. The bleach, the chemicals that goes inside making that water white and hence the product white, 50,000 liters. Now I can do without spending 50,000 liters for having my tissues white. A brown tissue will spend around 1,500 liters. Now, when this data is given to you, now you tell me whether you like a greenwashed product, which is colored green or colored brown, or would you want a naturally product, which is naturally brown? Anyone would go for the naturally brown product. Now, because of our ignorance, we are being greenwashed from the industry. A lot of people are looking at it as an opportunity. Sustainability, chalo, let's make the most of it. People don't know, let's do whatever is possible. Let's push in as many products as possible. Upar ka, niche ka, 10% or niche ka 10%, we finish and make it look as if it's green. But right inside, it's the same old thing. I want to get out of that. My company and my initiatives is to ensure that I'm against these two big evils of our society, which is tokenism and greenwashing. Now, look at it from my perspective as an aspiring environmentalist. I will get to the monetary part and how we're going to make the most of sustainability as an emotion in our everyday lives in the second part of the conversation of this presentation. But please indulge with me for the first 15, 20 minutes. As Abraham Lincoln once said, right? If you're given 4 hours to cut a tree, you spend the first 3 hours sharpening your axe, because there's no point in having good intent and going and cutting a tree. You need to have good tools. So you need to have your mind in a perfect position to handle the problem. I want to talk about one case which we have been doing every time. If you look at this particular slide, it is our everyday waste segregation in the morning. We've stayed in hostels, we've stayed in houses, we've stayed in apartments, RWA complexes, etc., wherein waste segregation is being insisted by people. They're saying, please segregate the organic waste, please segregate the non-organic waste and give it to us. It becomes easier for us to process it. For 15, 20 years, we've been trying to tell people, please, please segregate your waste. It still doesn't happen, right? And now, could somebody spend a couple of minutes or probably a few seconds in telling me or imagining what this is? I mean, when I say imagine, imagination can get you anywhere. It's only logic that gets you from point A to point B. Let's assume that. No, so don't put your logic as of now. Just put your imagination. So this particular output, what you call, is a solution for all that behavioral problem of waste segregation, what we have had in the past. Please do try to take down notes. This is called RDF, which is the refused derived fuel. Refused derived fuel. Now, what is RDF? It's a very, very interesting concept. There is technology which puts inorganic waste and organic waste together, processes it, and gives you an output which can replace coal for fuel. Now, it just doesn't replace coal, it gives you a 1.6 times more calorific value than coal. Now, think about what a quick turnaround of things have happened, right? What is this? We had to ensure that we spent 15 years in behavioral change. Please segregate waste. Please segregate waste. Didn't happen. Somebody smart came and said, don't do it. Give it the way you want to. I will convert it the way which is best I know. We upcycled it. We used our design thinking. We used our sustainability thinking. We used science to get a solution for this. So there we are. We don't need to segregate waste anymore. We just need to have money to put up RDF, and we are sorted. We can replace coal in majority of the industries which uses coal in huge quantity. How many of us know about the Sustainable Development Goals? I'm assuming that I can be interactive, so the chat is on. Please, please give a few chats in terms of how many of us are aware of what Sustainable Development Goals are, so that I know how exposed and how open are you to the rest of the conversation. Can I have some responses on how many people know about Sustainable Development Goals, please? Okay, so I'm assuming there is, okay, one or two are there. Fine, thank you. United Nations saw this entire world, obviously it didn't like the way it is, right? And as a collective voice, it said, let me prepare 17 goals. This happened 3-4 years back, 5 years back. Let me prepare 17 goals, and each and every goal has to be followed by the governments or the institutions in every country. And only if we are able to follow this, then we're going to have a clean, happy, and successful world for us to stay in. So each and every profession, what we are taking up, may it be accountancy, may it be economics, may it be sustainability, production, manufacturing, marketing, sales, whatever we are into, it will all fall under the 17 sustainable goals. And each and every goal is an ocean for itself. Please do indulge in this, because this is the tenet of what we are trying to get a better world for. We all know who this gentleman is. I'd love to share an analogy. I'd like to share a small story. There's something called CCA. We all know that this is Churchill. I don't want to take responses for that. Churchill was the guy who saved the Western world from Hitler in WW2. So he was the most important person for the Western world, right? Imagine, we are, as a country, we need to, we almost ceased to exist because the Nazi Germany was taking over all types of resources in England and the whole of Europe. And this was one man who actually stood behind England and ensured that Hitler didn't do what he did. And he was very important. Now, I want to share something very away from what his personality is. I want to share something about something called CCA. CCA is Churchill Cigar Association. Churchill Cigar Association. Now, back in the time when Cuba did not have a sea route to England because of the WW2 war embargoes, he stopped getting his cigars from Cuba. And Churchill has to smoke. He can't be himself if he does not have his cigar in front of him. And it can't be a normal cigar. It has to be a Cuban cigar or something which is close to it. Voila. India, Trichinopalli, Trichy, in short, in Tamil Nadu, had a cigar manufacturing facility which almost was equal to what the Cuban cigars was. So there was a committee put together to ensure that the Trichinapalli cigars can go to Churchill right through the time. Now, great. Churchill gets the cigars. Now, why am I talking about this? In 95, the government of India receives a letter. In 1995, a government of India receives a letter saying, we are representing the CCA from Trichinapalli in Tamil Nadu, and we have not seen an increase in salary for 8 years. Please increase our salaries. Now, the war is over, Churchill is dead, cigars are not being produced. What the hell is this CCA? So there was this committee that was set up to find out as to what is the CCA, and they unearthed this whole thing. And these 8 people who were getting paid salaries, they did this problem of asking for more salaries without doing any job, and they got their salaries cut off, if you're there with me in my thought process. Now, as the government of India, we had to ensure that these kind of loose expenditure had to be cut off. All we need to do is audit our books again. All we need to do is rethink and relook of whatever we have been doing so far, and we'll be able to save out of it. And every penny saved is every penny earned, very clearly, right? So it's just a poignant lament to this limitless possibility is what I have when I have Churchill's picture and the cigars, saying how much we can do if we just put our mind to it. When I say mind to it, we've all eaten with chopsticks. The chopsticks, we are very mindful of what we're eating when we're having chopsticks. Imagine when you're there in front of you, there's vegetables, there's meat, there is rice, carbohydrates, protein. You see the food when you eat it. You want to have the right kind of combination of protein, vegetables, and whatever you want, the taste, the spice. You look at it and you choose what you want, and then you eat accordingly. And that is one of the reasons the Orientals are not having huge body weight. They're very mindful in what they're eating, and they are working on flavors. So when we are using chopsticks for our mind, and a metaphorical reference, of course, but when you're using the same chopsticks for our mind, you get practical. And that is what the business which I am into. Practical sustainability. Sustainability is very esoteric. It's very nice to talk about, but how are we going to make money out of it? How are we going to be a part of that jigsaw which fits in saying, talking is good, but how do we make money out of this? Well, practical sustainability, this is a line which we have come up with, can be the answer. Now, let me give you an example. How does thinking sustainably, thinking with design, and practical sustainability help? We are all aware of a pencil. Now, take a pencil, the cost of a pencil for manufacture. Okay, let me give you an MRP. When you go out in the store and pick up a pencil, how much does it usually cost? I'm assuming you'd pay 8 rupees to 10 rupees. It's an assumption, but I'm sort of close to where 8 rupees to 10 rupees is. Now, we are also aware that 100% of it is covered by graphite lead inside. We are also aware that the last 20% is not being used by anybody as of now. The last 20% of the pencil itself is not being used by anybody as of now. What if I don't put graphite there? I save 20% of the graphite lead, which goes inside the pencil. I save 5% of the total cost of the pencil. Now, great, isn't it? Just by thinking sustainably, just by having a design element, I've been able to save that 5%. And using this as a narrative, I've been able to sell lakhs and lakhs of these pieces to people saying that, hey, listen, you're doing things just the same way. Now, I have thought sustainably, I have saved this money, 5%. You take that 5%, I don't want that 5%. You take that 5%, but just give me billing. So 1.5 crores of billing with a 5% saving on him, I get my 1.5 crore billing, right? Now, this can be utilized over varied situations. And I have utilized in my suite of products. I run a company called Compact Innovations. The website is www.thefuture.green, because I believe in a green future, thefuture.green. One of my first products in the ecosystem to introduce is this concept called ethical paper. Thank you, Seema. This was something which is really close to my heart in terms of how the name itself is a clickbait for many people. What is ethical paper? All I have done is take out the color white from your A4 size copier paper. If I take out the color white, everything else remains the same except for the color. You pass it through a printer, it gives you a similar kind of an output. The color printers are not as effective as what black and white printers are, but 85 to 95% of them are black and white prints that happen out of laser printers. The invoices you get home, the invoices you send outside, the text prints you take out for your college notes, all of them are in black and white. You don't need color, right? That's a huge segment. Take out the white and you save 50,000 liters of water for every ton. And you save 17 trees for every ton of paper, which is just recycled. And most importantly, at the same price, what you're paying for white. Now, when you have these kinds of data and you tell people, hey, listen, you don't have to pay extra. All you need to do is think sustainably. It takes a heart of stone to say, I don't like the world around me and I don't want your product. And if he's saying something like that, he's only trying to prove you wrong and not otherwise. He's not your customer. Move on. So this is my first product. I got the same kind of philosophy and thinking onto Brown Kind. The tissue paper range, which is completely in brown and unbleached. Let's face it, this is only to wipe off your body parts. You don't need something which is aesthetically pleasing. You just need which is hygienically effective. You can get away with saying that I can save hundreds and thousands of liters of water. And can you imagine 68,000 trees get cut every day just because we want our paper and toilet paper white? We can do without it. And we can make monetizing to such an extent that we don't have to kill the trees. Think differently and we're able to get products. What's coming up next? It is my prized possession. I'm assuming I'm audible right through, right? Because it is more of a monologue. I'm assuming I'm being audible. Okay, thanks. Gopa. Now, this is my prized possession. It's called PapWrap. What is PapWrap? This is a transverse view of a packaging material that has been upcycled from carton waste, which you otherwise throw out. Now, hundreds and thousands of tons of cartons are being thrown out in e-commerce centers. What happens to those cartons? Those cartons go back into the process of recycling. They get into water, they pulp it, they dry it, they make the paper look good in brown color, they dry it, huge amount of labor, and it comes back to you in the same form factor of what you threw it. Yeah, imagine you get a brown box if you ordered something in Amazon, and that brown box, you open the box, you take what is inside, and you throw that box. And if you want another box of a similar kind, that whole process of recycling comes back and gives you the same product. I chose otherwise. I said, Is it possible to upcycle that particular carton box right then and there at the fulfillment center? Yes, it is possible. I have a machine which I have prepared where you put old carton boxes towards the left. It cuts, processes, pastes, and sandwiches between two layers of paper, and it gives me rolled pap wrap towards the right of my machine. Now, since I'm able to roll this carton, I can place it as a hybrid between bubble wrap and cartons. It's right in between a bubble wrap and carton. Why didn't people think about this? Right? What do I save? I save 50% of the money which is otherwise paid in packaging. 50%. If I go to somebody and say, boss, listen, I number one, upcycle your waste, and I give you a 50% reduction in your packaging costs. Again, he will have to be very cynical and very antagonistic towards you to say, I will not pilot this in my office. This is an amazing product, and it has the potential of going to every fulfillment center across the world. Imagine the last mile delivery person, a person who's carrying those big bags and delivering it to your houses, right? He's carrying cartons, which also carries a little bit of air, because what you order and what you get in the outer box, there's a little bit of difference. We are all aware of it. And that difference is air. You are transporting air right through the entire logistics chain. Now, since this is wrappable, I'm able to wrap the product in X, Y, and Z axis, covers and cuts off the entire air axis completely. So my last mile delivery guy will be able to deliver 12 instead of 8, which reduces his effort. So this humongous usages. Why? Because we thought sustainably. And that's important. Okay. One of my other products, I will not take more time. Re-impact, we know how plastic is making a mess of the entire world. Scientists, along with our startup collaborators, have prepared a bioplastic that degrades or composts itself in 180 days. Now, what you see there is re-impact. Making that bioplastic is no big deal. A lot of people who are there out there saying that I am doing bioplastic and I'm doing something good for the country, I'm doing good for the world around us. But bioplastic has its limitations. We can't compare it to the strength of what a plastic can give us. We can't compare it to all the qualities of what plastic can give us. Hence, I have attached it with the bandage cloth. I have 2 thin layers of bioplastic, and I have 1 layer of bandage cloth in the center. Now, what this does is that it reinforces and gives me a very high tensile strength, a tensile strength of up to 10 to 10.5x, lab report proven, which is almost as good as plastic, right? And because I'm able to make the bioplastic film very thin, I'm able to match the price of what a plastic composite product could be. Design thinking, sustainable thinking, thinking for out of the box, and making money out of it. When we're investing green, as the topic of today's goes, right? Green is the color of money and sustainability. This is a kind of a overall clickbait which I have for a lot of companies. Every ton of paper which you use through me saves 17 trees and saves close to 40 to 50,000 liters of water. It saves greenhouse gases, it saves solid waste, and it has a varied list of doomsday predictions of more than 17 to 18 parameters which you will affect if you just shift to recycled paper. So please shift to recycled paper, right? You have to be emotional. You have to have the entire Socratean thought of ethos, pathos, and logos. Reach out to the consumer and say, everything is perfect. All you need to do is think sustainably, and we are there. My entire range of product lines. I have tissue papers, I have A4 size papers, files, folders, pens, pencils, notebooks, journals, visiting cards, the entire stationery range. And this is fortunately an optical trigger. When I say an optical trigger, if you spend money on solar and tell the employee of your company saying that your company has spent so much of money on solar and saved the world, great, wonderful. But there is no optical triggers for him on an everyday basis. When you use recycled paper and it is unbleached, that optical trigger gives you the fact that your company is doing something which you can see on an everyday basis. That's a very, very big asset to have. And we know that many people nowadays don't look at double clicking on anything. The first look of it is more than enough. Hamara, we have this 3-letter word which we are running towards right through the time of EMI, right? Easy monthly installments. We are all working towards ensuring that loans are cleared, man. That's it. Who cares about the world? I care about the world. I'm sorry, I care about the world. Lot more than what other people are doing. Wheat straw. We are all aware of how much of problems is there in the Delhi smog as of now. Delhi has one of the most polluted reputations in terms of air. Sorry. Now, this air pollution is caused not by just the exhaust fumes that come out of vehicles, but the entire Punjab and Haryana belt is burning fibers, burning organic waste, burning agricultural waste. And that smoke is getting converted to smog in Delhi. Now, there are a lot of people who have innovated and they have started making straws. I mean, they have started making composite material out of that waste so that can be converted into regular usable items like wheat straw husk, sippers, cutlery, everything. We can replace melamine. Melamine is completely plastic. This has a little bit of plastic, but at least it has a good optical trigger towards eco-friendliness. One of the greatest thinkers of my time, I should say, he felt the world around us is definitely not nice. And the only thing which can change that is the startup ecosystem that is available in the country and in the world. The startup system will completely revolutionize the way we are thinking, right? Choosing our potential where to work out of. He also says that potential is like sperm. You cannot use all of it. You have to particularize it. You know that you're good at something, and you know that you are good at a lot of other things. But what are you working on? Is sustainability something which is so lucrative that if I can put my mind onto it, if I could put my resource onto it, I can make a specific area where I can make money. Sustainability is that one topic which you win. The bright green future is there only in our hands. It is not there by tokenism saying that, hey, I held a banner, let me go have my drink. In one of the sessions, I remember after I spoke to a college, I like my nicotine fix. I like my smoke. I step outside and I'm having a smoke, and there are these 2 girls who come up to me and say, sir, we liked your session and we really appreciated it. But I'm really disappointed with the fact that you're coming outside and smoking. You're just not living up to what you spoke. I said, this is the best friend of nature. I showed the cigarette to them and said that. I told them, this is the best friend of nature. It kills humans, right? It kills humans. I mean, what else can be better if you're able to have a world which is bereft of humans? So this by any chance is not trying to tell you or encourage any kind of indulgence in tobacco, nicotine, or anything, but I'm just giving you my perspective. Humans are the worst um, curse, I would say, to nature. It's not the other way around. We've just not been able to treat nature very well. So I guess I have encapsulated quite a bit in terms of what is possible, what are the technological advances that has happened in the near past, and what is possible in the near future. And I feel the I feel the potential is something which is so big that it can't be just encapsulated in words. You know, George Orwell, in one of the books he wrote, it's in my Bible, 1984. Please read that book. It's one hell of a book. He talks about the concept of conscious capitalism there. We all need to make money, right? We can't do without it. But if you're able to make money in such a way the other person around you also is making money, what a wonderful feeling. It's just that we don't have more than him, but both of us have enough. If just that feeling can come inside us, there's money for everybody. And there's peace and happiness more than anything for anybody. We can restore India's potential to what it is and what it can be in a jiffy. Thank you. Thank you for this time, guys. I'm really looking forward to interacting with you now, because most of this was a monologue. And I see that Vignan's reputation has always been with people who are up there trying to make that change and trying to make things happen rather than just be an academic circle jerk, right? An academic circle jerk is somebody who just keeps on talking and doesn't do anything. So less thinking and more doing. We are there here to think. There are enough and more thinkers. We need doers. It has to be the combination of Hamlet, who thought a lot but didn't do anything, and Don Quixote, right? We all know who Don Quixote, the Spanish revolutionary, the Mexican revolutionary is. He didn't think at all. He just kept doing. So we have to have the combination of both these virtues in everyone who's listening now. And I want the questions to come up in the same manner. If it is at any point of time was impressive, and do you think if it made any sense, I would love to have questions from here on. Thanks. Thanks, Seema. Thanks,